So free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
Yeah! NHL hockey fans, it's been a long-fought fight, but we won it, and I'm going to disappoint every single one of you. We had less, well, I wouldn't say less than nothing to do with it. Ken
Very
Morris.
little.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we did, look, do you believe for a minute that the NHL isn't backpedaling here, Dave?
I think there's multiple things can be true in this situation.
What do you think? Like, what's your best guess? What happened? Why did the NHL all of a sudden go, oh, you were seeing black helicopters. You do have a tinfoil hat. We were going to do it all along. You know?
I don't think the entire NHL front office was against Scott being in. And for them to be completely backpedaling, I think that would have to be true. But I think that there's multiple things. I think there's people who's very relieved that Scott's getting to go in, and then there is backpedaling. There's no question. There's backpedaling from the unbelievable social media pressure. We're talking hundreds of thousands of petitions, tweets, posts, all these things.
Videos.
And it's crazy. You know why? Because you know what a millennial can associate with? Entitlement. But he was voted in. He's a minor leaguer. He was voted in, but it was a joke. But he was voted in.
You know what? It's funny because
came out in full force.
You're quite literally correct. When I think of the word entitlement, especially the way it's used today, it's like a false sense of entitlement.
False sense.
This was a legitimate sense of it. I want to be clear about that.
In a way.
Well, okay, what's your argument here?
Well, because while there's no question, there's no argument to the fact that he was voted in. No question. No question. The facts are, whether or not he was voted in or not, he was still going to be a minor league player this year. He's played 11 games.
Sure.
This has happened throughout his season very frequently. He goes to the minor league. So if you want to make the argument, I'm much more on board with the argument that a minor league player shouldn't be in the All-Star game. I'm much more into that argument than I am in anything else. Regardless of the All-Star vote, he was going to be in the minor leagues. So,
yeah. But I mean, he was on the ballot.
Sense,
he was on the ballot when it came through, and most enforcers. I mean, most fans that voted for it and know that enforcers, especially in today's day and age, bounce up and down. Very few enforcers stay on the roster the whole year. There's be a couple exceptions like Sean Thornton because, well, Sean Thornton can play a little more than John Scott, and I mean, why he's going to be a healthy scratch once in a while. There's no reason not to keep him in.
Sure.
Look, I'm going to touch every part of this. First, let's go to the press release, and before we get into the whole thing, let me just say, look, thank you. Is that the right word? No, I'm just relieved.
It's the right thing.
I'm relieved on an individual basis because it's this. Yeah, you know, I'm one of those guys that kind of looks at the big pictures and what the symbolism is, but it wasn't so much of the, for me, this wasn't it. This was screwing a good person, a person that did nothing wrong. And I even heard the argument he did something wrong by embracing it. Bullshit.
No, that's bullshit.
Bullshit. Like, and I get the, and I look at it a little differently than you. I am completely of the understanding that this was started as a joke.
Yes,
the type of people that started this joke, in my feeling, the type of people I think Don Cherry was calling fans, were the type of people that don't like John Scott, find Greg Wyshynski very, very funny, and wanted to kind of screw up the whole system because of their, I don't know, millennial entitlement angst.
Yes.
And I think that's what I think that's what certainly where this started on our hockey, and then it was adopted by Greg Wyshynski, who has a lot of power. I'm going to get into that because Greg Wyshynski is the reason it started, and I think you're going to be shocked what I have to say. Greg Wyshynski is the reason he's back in as well. So I'll get to that in a minute. Now, that all being said, as I've made videos about this and talked about this, I have heard a minority, and maybe it's because the type of show we do and the type of fans that we attract, a minority, a distinct, like 1% of the people talked about that, saying, look, I voted for John because I want to see something different. I like John. John was on the Blackhawks. I heard that a lot. That it would just be different, and he deserved it simply because he was an enforcer, and my personal narrative was this would be a nice way to say goodbye to them. I didn't believe for a minute that was the narrative.
That was
almost
never
like
the narrative.
It was never the narrative. It was my narrative, and it would have been a lot better narrative than sitting there and making a phony fucking trade, sending them to Montreal, to send them to St. John, to sit there and pretend that, oh, nothing happened. You're seeing black helicopters, you stupid fans. I mean, what Don Baloney said is you're stupid. And what the NHL said, you shouldn't like these guys, even though these guys put asses in the seats and they've been selling to NHL tickets for years now. You shouldn't be allowed to like them.
Well, what they were hoping was that the minority that we talked about, the minority that started this movement, and I do believe it was started by hundreds, not hundreds of thousands, it was started by hundreds of people. And the NHL was hoping that by making this trade that simply no one would care. They were wrong.
They were
Hundreds of thousands then came to the call, because if there's one thing that social media loves, it's a good old-fashioned injustice.
Yeah, that's
let me
true.
tell you, any way you look at it, this was an injustice.
This was an injustice.
There's no other way to look at it than that. And it got righted begrudgingly by the NHL, but righted nonetheless.
Yes, and I think that's the most important thing. That it's, my dad was saying, as a guy, if they're so uncomfortable about it, why don't they just get eliminating fighting? Of course, me and you don't want that, but the principle makes sense. The NHL is still willing to collect money on two guys punching each other, but they don't want you to talk about it, and they don't want you and they'll put it in the video game as well. Although that's been back and forth over the years. The National Hockey League and ice hockey in general, even without 5-minute majors for fighting, is a ridiculously violent game. There's no way around this. This is an extremely dangerous game that you put your life and your mobility on the line every time you step on the ice.
Your livelihood, everything.
Even if you're a kid, I've heard horror stories about kids going from kids usually don't get paralyzed playing baseball. It happens every couple of years in Canada or in the United States. You always hear a horror story. Just 2 years ago, I think me and you covered a Swiss player paralyzed, neck down, life over, game, set, match. That's it. So these guys, and I think what the people that started this couple, maybe 100, maybe 1,000 people who started this, that was like F you to NHL and wouldn't be funny to humiliate John Scott. Which this is why I'm defending John Cherry and what he said. That's the fans he's talking about. I'm going to humiliate Scott. I'm going to throw a wrench in the system. I don't believe that's what it ended up, and I don't think that's what anybody saw that coming. There was guys like you and me, Dave. There was guys, the whole team is behind this. There is nobody, all right, I'm going to throw Matt Gazzar a bone, right? He was just pissed off because, Montreal made a ridiculous trade to bench to keep a guy off the All-Star team, which he has every right to be mad about. But I do believe that Matt does have a certain amount of respect for the enforcer. I think that was a lot of it just me and him arguing. But and I think a lot of people like that, and that's where it really came from. And then there's John. There's John the person. There's John that, if you take a second look about the Louis Anderson hit a couple years ago and how he got 7-game suspension right off the bat after never being suspended in an almost 10-year career at that point. And then you saw him talk, and he's not an idiot. And you find out that he used college hockey as a scholarship to become an engineer. This guy's got a career after hockey. And he's beloved by every player. And he scored that goal last year for the San Jose Sharks. This guy's a great guy. This is the perfect guy. This is how they could have spun it, Dave. Whether it was the idea or not, the NHL, Doc could have said, John Scott, remember, represents a portion of the NHL that is soon dying. But John Scott is here to represent, that's what they could have done.
Well, that's the thing, though. They don't want to reference fighting at all. Because I feel that by not referencing it, they're getting what they want in the long run, because they don't want to just stop fighting, because they know there's a backlash there. There's going to be people who are going to fight against
and you know what? Let me stop now. I'll let you finish.
Is for fighting to naturally
go away.
Which will happen.
They extended it.
It's going to happen.
They extended it because now they're probably but here's the thing. Here's the thing about that. Now that you mentioned that, if you're thinking in those terms, now if they're gonna make a move, they're gonna be a little afraid to do it. They're going to be. You may have pushed a ban or a game misconduct on fighting up maybe another 5 years, because the reason they don't want to get rid of it is just what you said, is the backlash. They're going to backlash over this one goon who's probably not going to play professional hockey next year. What are they going to do with a mass misconduct? I think you kind of stepped on it. I didn't realize it myself. This could have pushed fighting up as far as a banishment thing or changing the rules dramatically up a little bit just because of the fear itself, unless, of course, that lawsuit. The lawsuit may change anything.
I don't think a lot of people are looking at John Scott as an ambassador for fighting. I think that because of the fact that he was just a guy with no stats, a long career that was kind of a joke to vote in, not only vote into the All-Star game, but the highest vote getter and captain and all of these things, whether he was an enforcer or not, I think kind of was secondary to a lot of people who voted for him. I really believe that. But
it depends on how they look at it, though. If they look at it that way, if they look at it as like, Jesus Christ, that's one way to look at it, Dave. The other thing
that's why they haven't referenced fighting at all. They don't even reference him as an enforcer. You know,
they're gonna have to in the All-Star game, don't you think?
Yeah.
Doc's gonna have to say he's an enforcer, right?
And this is the thing: if you need,
guy's got 11 points lifetime. I mean, he's gonna have to say he's an enforcer. You know,
you're gonna have to eventually. But what I like about this guy is how now not only how he's handled the whole All-Star situation, but the demotion to St. John's. And I want to read what he said here because I think it's pretty telling of who he is. You know, this is what he said. I think the plan for me is just to have me in St. John's play with this team. And like any other player, if I weren't a call-up, so be it. It's back to square one in my career. I guess I have to play and earn it and see what happens. Asked if it was ever crossed his mind not to report to St. John's, he says, I'm making a lot of money to play hockey. Why would I stop playing just because they sent me to St. John's? And besides, St. John's is a nice city. What are you going to do? Cry like a baby or work through it? Yeah. Everything is fine. Stop the free John Scott stuff. I'm fine. I'm free. I'm playing hockey. I'm still alive. I will fight for this guy any goddamn day of the week.
That's true. And what he means by, I don't want to disappoint anybody in the chat. What he means by the free John Scott stuff. Look, this free Nelson Mandela, it's usually reserved for, I want to say more important people, but people that are political prisoners and things of that nature.
Political prisoners,
look,
yes.
And John, and I said this the other day on Shot from the Point Live. Look, he's not going to miss any meals. But regardless of the fact that the guy's a wealthy guy, this is wrong. I don't care if he's a billionaire. This is wrong. It's wrong to treat people this way. And John Scott, here's another thing. Maybe we're wrong about all of this, but here's one thing I do know. Here's one thing I'm absolutely sure of. The John Scott thing does represent a spit in the face of the pro fighting fan to some extent.
I think, no question, to an extent. How deep it goes, that's a different argument. And honestly, it's an irrelevant one because any slight to that argument only further proves your point of your narrative. Because that's the important thing here is the fact that there's no question that fighting is dying. The numbers dictate it. Sure. It's obvious by the NHL's non-acknowledgement of it that that's what they truly want. They have a vision for the future game and what will sell. And the reality is they're probably killing the game by doing it.
Yeah, well, and there's the other thing. You know, this isn't going too well. I mean, we're talking about people they didn't have the intelligence to embrace this. This is why they can't compete with basketball. This is why they can't compete with baseball and football.
Why the Winter Classic tanked in the ratings this year.
They wouldn't know a good idea if it crawled into bed with their wives and did her doggy style. I mean, they really wouldn't know. They've never known. They've never done anything right. They've backed into things. The best idea they ever had in the last 50 years was the Winter Classic, and that seems to be dying, and I had a lot of fun watching it this year. But I'm a diehard, and they want to bring new people
They've over-inundated it, and you know it's like with anything.
Maybe. Well,
let's do 4 or 5 stadium games now. It's too much.
I will say this. I will say that could be it. But I hate to give credit to Puck Daddy because they called that a couple years ago. Speaking of Puck Daddy, make no bones about this. Yes, me and you, we contributed. You watched the videos, you retweeted them and stuff like that.
We played our part.
Yeah, we played our part. We played our part over here. We were not the deciding factor. Unfortunately, I think I saw who the deciding factor was. And it also gave me a real idea is the power of Greg Wyshynski. And let me tell you how this went. Now, Greg, I don't believe for a minute that he didn't do this in a mean-spirited way. He has a writer named Ryan Lampert that basically referred to John as a knuckle-jagger. Greg's the editor. He didn't edit it out. I wonder if he'd edited it out if it was PK Subban, Vander Kane, Simmons, no, but he didn't. He didn't. It was okay to trash and call him a Neanderthal. But that being said,
he's a white guy who made his living fighting.
Yeah.
Everything he hates.
Yeah. I guess so. This is the way, Greg, I want to be very clear about the history. when the backlash started, Greg's first move was to go with the Don Maloney narrative. Don Maloney merited seeing black helicopters wearing tinfoil hats, okay? He wrote a satire piece where Scully and Mulder argue over the whole thing. That his original idea was to say, you're stupid.
Yep.
And he was going to go along with it. The backlash was unbelievable. Greg understands social media.
Because it was insulting.
It's completely insulting because it's completely ridiculous. The other thing that happened that put a monkey wrench in his plan, and I'm sure he didn't even see this coming, in his arrogance of the league on levels that I can't understand. The league reached out to John Scott and told him he could sit in the stands. That's unfucking believable.
We'll give you a deal.
That's not a deal. That's a spit in the face. And you know what? I'm starting to see what kind of character this guy. John would have told him screw. John would have told him screw. You know what? You know what he said? No, I got a game for St. John's that day. Or I got to go to practice. It's something like that.
I got a game to play.
Now that puts pressure back on Wyshynski. You started this as a joke. This is your baby. What are you going to do with it? Now he says, I owned it. He goes on his podcast. He says, all right, yeah, it was me, but I never did it in a mean-spirited way. I reject that. But what we're going to do is, we're going to try to encourage the NHL. And then he gets in an argument with Merrick. He's like, what are you going to argue with? He's already out. And then Greg says, I remember clearly, it's not over. Articles come out, Jen Neal himself supporting it. That's what we were trying to do with our videos. I made a very specific video over the weekend saying, contact your reporters. Reporters hit Wyshynski. Wyshynski hit the blog. The league reads the blog. They saw the outrage. They saw the hashtag. They backed off, and now they can maintain Maloney's narrative. You're all crazy. We're going to do it all along. Greg Wyshynski doesn't even believe that.
Well, this got mainstream media too.
Yes, and it grew up. Terry Kornheiser, one of your favorite guys.
Tony Kornheiser, my guy, who I love, he talked about it on Pardon the Interruption, which they never talk about hockey. It's very rare. Mm-hmm. I saw a lot of coverage on ESPN, multiple articles, not just by their regular hockey guys either. This got a lot of mainstream coverage, and people talked about it, and it got a lot of traction. Social media, you cannot underestimate how powerful social media is. You want to talk about the power of Greg Wyshynski and all that. That's completely fine and dandy. But it's because he knows how to manipulate social media.
That's true. And we had to manipulate him.
It's like a fucking tidal wave right now.
Look, he understands that stuff. He saw it coming down the pike. And Greg, one thing we know about Greg, he can dodge.
He's an opportunist.
He can dodge, and he dodged this bullet because I don't believe that shit for a second. I think he despises John Scott. I don't believe that. I think that's what
he despises what he represents. Not John. It's not like I hate John Scott. I'd punch him in the face.
Yeah, but you know what?
I despise what you represent.
Okay, that's fine. Then why? But that means he's kind of dehumanized John to the point where he can kind of fuck with them. Even because I hate what he represents, so I can fuck with the individual. I don't know. If that might be true, but he's still acting like he hates the guy. I guess that's what I'm saying. You know what? I don't buy it.
I mean, I don't buy it. That line can be crossed easily because when you hate what somebody represents, it's really easy just to project that onto the person.
Dehumanize them. And this is a guy that's running around talking about women's rights on the fucking internet and how they get a raw deal and everything. And he's always worried about ice squirrels and basically completely misrepresents Zach Ronaldo yesterday about laughing about hurting Chris Letang. We covered that, and then he backed off from that. He backpedaled. He backpedaled. That means the NHL had to backpedal. And now the worst thing about it, he can say, the NHL did what the fans want. We encouraged them, and exactly. Bullshit. Remember it. You heard it here. He's a horrible, horrible human being.
As long as he gets to continue in his own mind to write the narrative, he's one happy son of a bitch.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure he's got a boner the size of Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
This did not go the way he wanted.
No, he didn't want to get heat from his own colleagues.
Oh,
no, he didn't want that. But he didn't want that.
Well, he's a hell of a spinner, and he knows how to capitalize on.
He's smarter than them. Look, here's the thing about Puck Daddy. It's the best blog in the country for a reason. He understands it. He knows what people want to be. He knows what people want to click on. He also manages to do that without baiting. Greg is in the Hockey Writers Union, because he did something original with hockey. And he's working with Yahoo because he did something original. He did this before he was with Yahoo, too. Greg understands what people click on the internet like nobody else. I don't even think there's an NFL or an NBA or a football guy that really have grasped both social media like Greg has. And it is a good blog in the sense where you get stuff that's funny about hockey. And you get the jersey fouls and the little the stuff that goes on behind, the stuff that me and you like to talk about and laugh about, because Greg knows that hockey's a funny sport. And then he always hits you over the head with his fucking whacked out politics on top of that. So he gets the win. And now he's got power.
Yeah.
He's got serious
look
power.
at what he is. He's a blogger.
Yeah.
He's a blogger. These are the guys who really started the catalyst of the social media movement in a lot of ways. These bloggers, they really, I mean, I started blogging before I started podcasting 6 years ago.
Yeah.
I started blogging.
That was the thing. Yeah.
That was the thing.
That was the thing. So
And,
Greg really
I saw it was coming. And then there's a natural progression. Guess what else he does? He podcasts.
Yeah.
I mean, he is at the forefront of the social media movement. I mean, it's what he does. Is he a scumbag? Absolutely, but he's a scumbag who knows how to take advantage of the system.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. I think that was perfect. I think that was perfect. Let's say hi to everybody in the chat. Deception with the Edmonton Oilers logo. Kevin Acosta, thanks for tuning in. Pittsburgh boy. Roman Reigns sucks.
David S., nice first name. I like your name.
David S., he's been in there before. Sally. Viet Gastali, he's actually in Germany. You know that?
Nice. I heard
he's in Offenbach or something like that.
Come party.
The McCarthy Project. The guy who says nasty stuff about my wife. Haven't seen him in a good 7 or 8 months. Welcome back, buddy. Nasty's in there. Gun Cannon. Let's see what else we got. Sal, of course, Terry, the beautiful Snow Queen, Karen Johnson out in New Zealand, and Carson Babini. I want to get everybody. Goose Gaming, who's we're seeing him more and more and more. He's becoming a Point fan. Faux show. Thanks for being the hardcore. And let me tell you something. Greg did all this and Greg did all that. But don't forget you did too. We were a part of this as a team. Yeah, I made the videos, but you watched them and you retweeted them and you stuff like that. So it was a little part to get this guy in the team. And we didn't, whatever reason, I don't even care what reason you did it for. Whether you don't like fighting, whether you do like fighting, whether you don't like John Scott, whether you think I'm crazy, or you think it's nuts. I think at the end of the day, we can all agree this was garbage.
Yes.
And I think we all handled it the right way. Misfit Boy Hockey, go Hawks. So
that's right. Goddamn right, go Hawks.
Calvin said he loved my Raw review. I have a feeling I'm going to get a lot of heat from that. I am the only guy that liked the damn Raw.
Not the only guy, but yeah, you're certainly one of the few to speak out as highly as you did. You did a good job.
I almost want to talk about it, and there's a part of me that really wants to talk about it, and I don't. All right. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to do a story after this. I'm going to say this right now, and then I'm going to do a quick story I'm going to read. I want to talk about the Raw review, okay?
I want to see
yeses and nos in the chat, and then I will count them. 1, 2, 3, now. And then I'll count them on the side. But right now, we will go to a topic. Actually, you know what? We'll take a call from Roy. How about that? We'll just do it that way, huh? Ryan Florida, you on the air? What's up, buddy?
What's going on?
What do you think? John Scott in the All-Star game, bud. How do you feel about it? You were a part of it. You helped.
He's going to get fucking hurt, and he's not going to be able to do it. I see it coming. I see it coming. I see it coming. Something's going to happen.
Something's going to happen.
He's going to be on an oxygen mask. I know that. 3-on-3 is going to fucking kill him.
It did cross my mind that something like that happened. Got 1 yes. Got 2 yeses. Got 1 yes, 2 yes. Gonna need more than that. I'm going to have to at least have 5 votes. One no. 1, 2, 3, 4 yes. And I don't know.
David S. wrote yes and no.
Fucking jerk off.
What a jerk off.
Fucking jerk off. What's on your mind, Roy?
Take back.
What's
You're
on your
bad
mind,
representation of the name.
What's going on with you, brother?
I'm just wondering about tonight. I'm wondering how it's going to go. You know, is it going to be a repeat of the All-Star game, or are we going to get a win?
Who you guys playing tonight? Wait a minute. Tuesday.
Canada.
I don't got fucking. You're playing the Habs tonight? Oh yeah, you are. Yeah, 7:30. You said Tuesday. Playing the Habs. Well, the Habs are coming off a Blackhawk loss. They didn't look too hot. They're not looking too hot in general. And Boston's not setting the world on fire. Let me put it this way. I'm not going to say I don't know, but this is a real opportunity to put a dagger in the soul of a fledgling Montreal Canadiens team. So assuming, the Chars having a pretty good season, I think you go out there, you hit them hard, you hit them good. And I think this is a very beatable team. And they don't have a lot of faith in Mike Condon. They don't seem to really have two functional defensemen over there. Besides, I don't know, Mr. Assist, PK. Yeah, I don't think it's... I tell you something. Boston.
They got a better record than Montreal right now.
I don't know if Boston's a dog tonight or not, but I wouldn't have a problem putting money on Boston. Would you, Dave?
They announced Krejci practice, but he's definitely not playing.
Yeah, well, you got to give these guys... Yeah, they need David Krejci back, that's for sure. I think you can beat him tonight. In fact...
I'm going to take a step farther.
What?
Right now...
Oh, here we go. Dead on Dave.
Boston is better in every way than Montreal. They're a better team.
Okay.
They're playing better hockey. Montreal's lost 4 straight. Boston's won 2. Boston has 51 points. Montreal has 50. Boston is better. And you know what? With a victory tonight and a loss from Montreal and a win from Ottawa, Montreal's out of the playoff spots right now. They're not in. If it ended today, they're still out of the season. But still, that's fucking hysterical.
Well,
fuck the Habs. They're scumbags. I'm with you, Tommy.
Yeah.
Original 6 team getting involved in some tomfuckery like that. I hope they lose the rest of the year. Carey Price, don't rush back.
Well, do you have a big boner now, Roy?
When Dave says it, I'm fucking fully extended, dude.
Yes, that's the dead on Dave.
When Dave talks, it's God, man.
It's good. That's good stuff. All right, I'm going to talk about wrestling with Dave a little bit, but thank you very much for calling. And you know what? Maybe I'm going to put a bet in tonight for Boston.
The Florida lost last night.
Florida's lost 3 in a row. We're going to touch on them later. We might do a little extra time tonight because we're rolling.
4 in a row.
4 in a row. They lost 4 in a row, and they won 20 straight or something, or whatever it was. All right, Roy, I'll talk to you later, buddy.
All right, see ya.
Take care. Good call from Roy from Florida. Yeah, that would be the icing on the cake if Montreal lost tonight, huh? Oh, that would just make everything. That would just make everything super perfect.
I want them to lose to the All-Star game.
I don't know if we're going to do Raw. Okay, here's the thing. Here's my argument. I think. All right, you didn't like Raw last night. You didn't even think it was entertaining. Here's the way
I thought there was a few aspects of it, and I touched on this on my review, which you can find over at Dead on Dave Productions. Throwing that out there, just a little bait me for you. I thought there were some aspects that I liked. Even one of the most entertaining things of the night was Jericho. It was for the wrong reason, and that kind of affected me. I'm like, he had to go to extraordinary lengths to try and put any type of entertainment into this horrible shit show that has the WWE's top guy involved, and that was unbelievably telling. Just the night was weird. I like that they ended the night on a weird note that nobody really saw coming. Brock Lesnar getting beat down in itself is one thing, but taking a Sister Abigail, getting kissed on the forehead by that's significant, and it does kind of throw things for the rest of the week into flux. I like that, but unfortunately, there was just so much overwhelming bad throughout the show that I was not entertained, and that's what it came down to for me.
That's the thing, because I don't, because we talked offline, and I don't disagree with your reasons why you had a problem with Raw, and I'm doing a different kind of show than you. I'm taking segment by segment. I'm asking myself at the end of the segment, was I entertained? Yes. Now, you're thinking that Jericho threw an audible by doing no. That was fucking great. I was laughing. I haven't laughed that hard in a long time. So while it was indicative of what was being done poorly in the ring, which is important to you, and it's important for the long term, that moment, I was entertained. And I think that's also the type of show I'm doing. I was like, all right, that segment was funny. Is it funny or is it not funny?
That segment was funny.
That segment was funny. And the reason it was funny is because they got fucking problems. There's no doubt about that.
There was 15 segments, and maybe 4 of them were entertaining. And that's my problem.
That wrestling, I tell you something. That 3-man tag was fucking fantastic with Kalisto. I damn near gave that 5 stars.
The which tag? Which one?
The one with Dean Ambrose and.
I thought you said the 3-man, meaning the 6-man, the team fucking 3D and Ryback match. I was like, what? I almost had a heart attack.
Oh no, that was good. That was garbage. Was that with the big botch too? All right, that's what we're gonna say about wrestling. 646, you're on the air. How you doing?
Hey, what's going on, man? This is Kakarabia.
What's happening?
Oh, it's Kakarabia.
Kakarabia, is he one of your guys?
Yes, he is.
What's on your mind, brother? How can I help you?
Well, listening to y'all talking about Raw. Raw was whack yesterday.
I loved it.
It wasn't that good. It was just retarded.
I loved it.
Dumb. Yeah, I actually threw up after Raw because of how whack it was.
Well, what are you telling me?
I took a
this for?
dump, so I mean, I threw up out of my ass.
I enjoyed it. I laughed my ass off. What was your problem with it?
Well, the ending of it was retarded.
Okay.
Everything else, what happened at the end.
I agree.
The only thing I liked was Bray Wyatt. That was maybe most likely the best Sister Abigail he ever did in his whole life.
But that was the ending. You just said you didn't like the ending. The ending was the
No,
Sister
but that's the only thing that
the only
was,
thing you liked
you know,
about
I
it?
could.
Did you
actually be like?
What about
hey,
Jericho
all right,
saying out, 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 out? That was hysterical.
I am Jericho.
You didn't like
oh,
that?
No, not Jericho. I hate Jericho. How Jericho came out with the Mrs. microphone, and he was using the Mrs. microphone.
He did come out with the Mrs. microphone. That's true.
And it didn't make no sense at all. And he forgot to wear a shirt under his nice little blazer.
Oh, he didn't forget. He's rock star, buddy.
You're not allowed to talk about him that way.
Oh, come on, baby.
I didn't like that.
You blew up Kakarabia.
Seems like a nice guy and everything, but I really enjoyed the shit out of myself. And I'm doing a hockey show. That's the one thing. And the other thing, I don't know. I don't get you wrestling fans. I enjoyed it segment for segment. I thought it was really entertaining. I laughed throughout the entire show. Kevin Owens was funny. The match was all right. They had a big botch with the other match, but actually the worst match of the night was actually kind of cut. It basically started and then the broadcast cut to the botch where Titus O'Neil throws him over the back of the head.
He threw him over Mark Henry.
Here's the thing. Like I didn't think they could do any wrong. All right, it's a horrible botch. Breeze could have got hurt.
That whole match sucked.
Yeah, it was terrible, but that was interesting to me. So I don't know. I like shit shows, I guess. Maybe that's my problem. I like complete chaos. Let's go over a few other headlines in the. Let's go over a few other headlines. That guy hurt my fucking feelings. See how I deal with my feelings. That guy probably listening for weeks. Man, when are they going to talk about wrestling? One day we do it, blow him up. Lots of injuries report. Henrik Sedin is going to be out to the All-Star break with an upper body. Got hurt the other night. Lots of injuries. Drew Miller, Detroit Red Wings, ACL, 4 to 6 months. Ooh. And Wings got more bad news. Nicholas Cronwell out 2 to 4. He's going to need some arthroscopic on the scrape of the knee.
Well, clean up.
Yeah. Taylor Nugent-Hopkins out 6 to 8 for block. This is the most injuries I think we ever reported. Taylor Nugent-Hopkins out for blocking a shot with his hand. There's Greg Wyshynski probably trying to deflect to the next subject of being an asshole. Michelle Terrion. He writes an article about the case for firing or keeping him or going. What do you think about that? I mean, it's not completely unreasonable considering what's happened. Do you want to can Terrion now or at least give him to the rest of the season?
I think at this point you kind of gotta, unless there's someone that you're really targeting, you have a plan in place, and you know where you want to go. There's no point to release him at this point.
I don't think so. Maybe he deserved the firing, but now. You know, when this is not a Columbus
thing where they found a guy that could change the culture of their team in torts.
I
don't think there's another guy out there that can necessarily do that.
Carey Price is coming. I don't know. I don't think it's a good thing.
Yeah,
and I got news for you. The goalie is not their only problem over there. I know a lot of Habs fans. That is not the only problem over there. I got news for you.
Well, here's the other thing about it too. Right now in the Atlantic, in particular, hell, really outside of Washington. In the entire conference, nobody's playing well. Nobody's playing well in the East right now. I mean, Tampa's starting to surge, but they're still only 52 points. Montreal's only 2 points behind them. So, I mean, I don't think that they're in full-fledged panic mode. They get a little bit healthier. I think they have a chance with the trade deadline coming up. I think that they have a chance to get themselves in position to, make a run. So, I don't know.
I think it's early talk. Washington, Chicago, and St. Louis a little. Those are the teams that are playing well.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking in the East.
In the East, yeah. Well, it's just the one team's running away with it.
Exactly. Everybody else is grouped together. That's why, as a team, as a franchise, you don't have to panic and fire your coach if you think that there's still a chance for the season, which in this situation with Florida, Now they've lost 4 straight. Fucking Detroit's not playing exceptionally well. Tampa's starting to play better. Yes, Boston's right there. Nobody's playing well.
No.
So there's no reason to push the panic button and give up on a proven head coach. And he is a proven head coach. He's a proven asset.
What do you think about Florida Panthers? 12 straight, then 4 straight losses, right off of accusations that it was a fluke, and they're going to go right back to losing. The first game they lose to Vancouver, which was a close game, went to overtime. Sedin Pop won in overtime, ended up with a little schmaz at the end. They lose the next 4. The first one is against Calgary. They get blown out 6-0. Was it a freak?
I don't know if it was a freak. But here's what I will say. What do I always do historically on the show when I can't make up a decision about a team? I go to the goddamn numbers. I've done historically. I'm going to do it again. Okay. Goals per game. They're right in the middle of the pack. They're 17, 2.5 goals per game. They're exceptional at stopping the puck. They're 3rd overall. So that's a good thing. And that could account for why they were able to have the streak that they were able to have. And if they start getting a little bit fluky, which they have in the last 4 games, giving up a lot of goals, they can't win because they have no firepower. The biggest thing for me is if everything else is failing, you need to be able to do one thing when your defense is not playing well and your goalie is not stopping shots. You need to be able to capitalize on the power play, and they can't do it. They're 28th in the league, and that, for me, if you can't capitalize on your special teams play, you're not going to be able to sustain anything, and that, I think, has a big reason as to why they've lost 4 straight.
Things like special teams, power kill, power play, face-offs. Although that's not actually special teams things, it's super duper important. That I think that sometimes I'm not saying Florida's a fluke. All right, I'm sticking with my boy Lucas and Rats on the Ice. I'm not saying that, okay? Yeah. Because we've seen this team in the past. They eliminated the Boston Bruins essentially last year, and they were right. They fought right up until the end. We know there's talent there. They're not going past the first round. No. But they're building something, and they got a great young player in Aaron Ekblad.
But here's another problem for them too. Yeah. Their record, their schedule coming up. They got Chicago, Tampa, a much better playing Toronto team. They're still not a threat, but Toronto is playing a little bit better as of late.
Have to be
Washington, Detroit, Pittsburgh, Detroit, St. Louis, Nashville. I mean, they got some tough games coming up. They might be in trouble. And in their win streak, they were playing teams like Buffalo, Edmonton, even the Rangers when they weren't playing very well. A slumping Montreal, Columbus, Ottawa, Vancouver. These are the teams that they were beating. So not exactly a murderer's row.
No.
Now they're getting into the meat of their schedule, and it's not really shock that they are struggling.
I tell you something. I don't care how good Toronto's playing lately. It's a must-win situation for them.
Oh yeah.
I'm pulling for them. I don't want the analytics guys to be right. I don't like them. And the worst thing about the analytics guys is when they're wrong, they're not wrong.
Toronto's lost 5 straight.
Very frustrating. This is a name I haven't heard in the chat. Derek Bradford. Welcome to the show. Hope you freaking sub, and share. Got a lot of stuff going on here.
Before I say something, I should look at the thing. The Toronto's lost 5 straight.
Oh, you did less. Oh, you saw it the other way?
I was in a good thing. I was spouting off some stuff there.
You're good. All right. Well,
I'm not professional.
We're just a bunch of amateurs on YouTube. What do you want?
I caught my own mistake.
Yeah, I've done that before. Like 5 losses, and I think, that's 5 wins. They're playing good lately. So I'm gonna sound
I thought they were playing better. Yeah.
They're not. You know what? Okay. This is how bad Toronto's playing this year. We're not talking about them because the Toronto Maple Leafs force you to talk about them. TSN, nobody cares about them this year. They're dead. They got their coach Babcock, and they just need to get rid of absolutely everybody over there. Nobody even cares. Nobody's even interested in criticizing them or making even. There's even less memes about them this year. It's just like I post them probably the most Toronto goofing memes, and I'm like thinking about cutting them because it's just getting old.
Yeah,
it's just getting old. Last thing on the list here, Darius Kasparaitis, one of my favorite players ever. He was a master of the hip check. He was a complete bastard. Everybody. He was a weasel. He was the weasel. He was the guy that he hides under the ring and everybody else beats each other. He comes out and then he runs out and he's champion. That was Darius Kasparaitis. Yes, he did have some skill. He has a beautiful hip check and he ended up playing for Team Russia. He's 43 and he wants to come out of retirement to play for Lithuania. Now, here's the story. Like, well, how can he do that? He played for Team Russia. he's actually Lithuanian, and being a Generation Xer, he did learn to play hockey under the old Soviet system. So what the Soviets did, if you were good and you were like close and you're living another, you know what? You're a Russian. So he became one of those guys. I guess he's
annexed players.
He hasn't played professional hockey in a couple years. I think it's like 5. He wants to come in. Me personally, love to see us play. Look, if I find out he's playing, I am going to get the dirtiest, most disgusting scream on the planet. I don't care what language it is. I will watch Darius Kasparaitis play. I love that man. I love him because he's an asshole. He was really entertaining. Should have saw him.
You do appreciate the people who are just outwardly assholes.
I like heels. I like heels. Look, who are my favorite wrestlers? Like Roddy Piper. I mean, like, you know, who do I like? I mean, like, I just like, I don't know. I like, you know, I like Roberto Del Rio. Nobody likes him.
He sucks.
Did he really suck?
He sucks. He's so boring.
But he can work. Nobody seems to care.
Hey, look, one of my favorite wrestlers of all time is Triple H, who's he's a great heel. So I mean, I love heels too.
Snore.
But you tend to like heels in real life.
Maybe. I don't like really bad.
It's a special thing.
I don't know. I think I screwed up this thing. Last night in the National Hockey League, Edmonton, they beat the Cats 4-2. Make it 4 in a row for the Cats. They managed to lose it. Just talked about that. Pittsburgh was in St. Louis last night, and Paul Stastny has a 4-point night. Holy Christmas. Pittsburgh getting ba-bow after coming off a boop of Carolina.
Bang.
And I like to thank Jeff Huffman and everybody St. Louis for putting them back in line. We're going to turn this into a 5-game winning streak. Nope. Oh, Isn't them losing? Isn't them losing great? Colorado, they take Winnipeg 2-1. Might be over there, pal.
Might be.
Yeah.
Might be.
Buffalo Sabres, they take the Arizona Coyotes 2-1. Good! John Scott's old team beats the hell out of the filthy scumbags and Don Maloney.
I think they've gone winless since the trade.
Oh, good.
They've lost 3 straight.
This is a team I was kind of pulling for. Look how the times have changed. I am now rooting for Buffalo. I'm hating the Habs and the Arizona Coyotes.
Isn't that beautiful?
Well, now the fact that John Scott's going to be there, I wonder if it's going to last as long as Buffalo, because the Buffalo Sabre fans were the first-class assholes to me for, I don't know, how long, Dave?
Yeah.
Like 6 months? I still get a fuck you from
18 months.
I got a fucking letter once, like, I just want to let you know I saw your Buffalo video. Fuck you. I got an email, not a... Fuck you.
You're lucky I can't send anthrax through a fucking email. Done.
Oh, that's too funny. Ottawa, they take San Jose in the shootout 4-3. Boy, Ottawa, we don't talk about them at all because they can't win a goddamn game. Other thing to report, Taylor Hall in that Edmonton game, he had 2, so I forgot to touch on that, but I wrote it down. So I'll say it anyway. Tonight in the National Hockey League, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Calgary is in the D as the Devils. The C isn't. No, it's not really the D.
That's a different D.
That's a different D.
Different D. It's not as rough in that D.
And New Jersey's full of dicks. That's the problem.
They're full of dicks.
I can attest to that. Vancouver, they're in New York to take on the New York Rangers. A rematch of 1994. No, not really. They had different uniforms back then. I hope they lose because I hate the Canucks. I just don't like them either. Toronto Maple Leafs, they're in Philadelphia to take on the Flyers. There's my lock.
Lock of the week.
Philly's playing a lot better. That Ghosty guy, he's pretty good. He's got a nice little wrist shot.
He's not bad.
Yeah, I'm starting to like him more and more every time I see him. Another 7 p.m. game. Watch those. The dominant Washington Capitals. I'm sure they're going to ruin Columbus. There's a glint in Oldie's eye.
Oh.
I've seen it.
Yes.
There's something there. He's different. He's not smiling as much. He's just focused.
He's no longer just happy to be there. He wants to win.
Yeah.
He wants to lead his team. And you know why it's happening? Because of fucking Trotz. That's why.
He's got the Trotz.
Barry Trotz,
He's
man.
got
he
the
got
Barry
up
Trotz.
in that ass.
He's got the Trotz. 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. Oh, we have a rivalry. Boston Bruins in the Montreal Forum Or the Bell Center. I hate when they do that. I'm still... you know what? I said Forum. That's right. Montreal's in the Forum to take on the Canadiens. 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. Edmonton, they're in Tampa Bay, displaying the much better playing better Lightning. That's the way to trip on your words.
The Lightning are playing much better. You know who else is playing better?
Who's playing better?
Stamkos!
Yeah, I know.
Fuck you, Kazar!
Fuck you, Kazar. In your team.
How's Dallas doing, dickhead?
Yeah. I think Matthew Kazar was involved in screwing John Scott. Let's just start that mover.
This is what you get.
Everybody hashtag Kazar screwed Scott. Hashtag Kazar. That wasn't even that funny. I'm sorry. Let's get the hell out of here, Dave. 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Blackhawks are in Nashville. Take on the Preds. Late night game, 10:30. The D is in Los Angeles to take on the Kings. Andy Kopitar. He's tearing up the league dead on Dave.
Why, he got himself a good little extension.
Yeah, he's like, Jonathan Quick is like, yeah, he's great. He gets everybody out of my crate. Boom, 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 boom.